Good morning again, everybody. Welcome to the Monday Motivation Podcast with Keegan Jewell. I'm your host, Keegan Jewell. And here at the Monday Motivation Podcast, we're all about coming together one Monday at a time to reach our full potential. So that means go ahead if you're watching on YouTube, listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you're tuning in, make sure you hit that subscribe button. You'll get notification every single Monday to let you know a new episode is out, because every single Monday they come out because, Mondays can be tough. They can be rough, especially in times like this where days may be lumping together with this whole pandemic and everything going on. But, I want us to kick off our week right. Mondays come along and I want us to look forward to Mondays because they can kickstart our week the right way. So every single Monday, come together one Monday at a time, just like that. So hit that subscribe button, reach our full potential. What that means is reaching our full potential. Like I said, I want each of us to have a calling, each of us have a purpose, each of us have something in life that we are called to do, that we are passionate about. All that I want to help us, each and every one of you listeners and myself, come together and be able to get closer to that, whether it's through interviews like we've had the last couple weeks, or just different topics like this week's topic that I think will really help out many people. So, like I said, that's what we're all about at the Monday Motivation Podcast. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. Let's get into this week's episode, the Monday Motivation Podcast with Keegan Jewell. We're coming together one Monday at a time to reach our full potential. How's everybody going again? This is another episode of the Monday Motivation Podcast with Keegan Jewell. And this week, wanted to give us something that actually came from our interview last week. If you guys have been watching or able to catch it, last week I had a good friend of mine, Joey McKernan, on the podcast. And he talked about his new book that he's got coming out called Chosen. He talked a lot about that, talked about his own podcasting, Chosen Show, and then also talked a little bit about A28 Apparel. So if you didn't get a chance to check that one out, make sure you go check that one out as well as the other interviews and episodes we've got going on. The last couple weeks, we've had interviews. It was Joey last week, a couple weeks ago. A friend of mine, music producer, Famous. Make sure you check that one out as well. But if you guys didn't get a chance, or, just to kind of remind us of this thing that Joey talked about last week, he mentioned this thing. He said this phrase that I just love. He said, action drives confidence. Again, I'm going to say that again. Action drives confidence. And I love that. I really do. He shared a story with it on just, he was talking to a lady that wanted to start a nonprofit and was talking about, oh yeah, just do it, like go for it. And just, these are the things you have to do. But then he just kind of like encouraged her to do it and go for it. And he had mentioned that phrase there, action drives confidence. And it got me thinking, and it's been really on my heart, my mind this last week. And I really want to talk a little bit more about that. Action drives confidence. And that's so true. We're here, we're talking like that tagline for it, for the Monday Motivation Podcast, come together one Monday at a time, as we know, to reach our full potential. And so I thought, how does this apply? How does this go? And it's one of those where let's just break down action. Just go and do things. Just go and do it. Many times I feel like we just kind of sit on things. We kind of go, oh, I'd love to do this. I'd love to do that. But we always just have this list of things that we want to do, but we never actually act on it. There's always, I think of the question that we sometimes get asked, like, if money was no object, or if you could do anything in the world, what would it be? Especially that last part, like if you could do anything, if you could start something, if you could do X or whatever it is, what would it be? And for some people, I've had this conversation with people, and some people are always like, I would love to start, a YouTube channel, or some people are like, I'd love to start a blog or a vlog, or love to start a business, or, I would love to be able to do whatever else it is. And, I feel like we talk about that, but too often we forget to ask what's holding us back. What's holding you back from doing that? Because sometimes sometimes we just feel like we we can't do it or we don't know how. But when we actually take action, and maybe it's something, and even in something that we're already there, we're already doing something. Maybe it's you're at your job and you feel like you need to have you could have a conversation with your boss on something, or to make something better, or to do this other thing differently, and it just has to be one where you just have to just do it. I think of when I was in college, I worked retail, right? Worked retail, and for a while there, I was a department lead for for the retail spot I worked for. I worked shoes, I worked footwear, and I remember they were just like, you know what, like if you see something that could be fixed, or you feel like you could move something around or do something different, go for it. Like you have the reign to. And at first, kind of sat back and kind of waited and all this, and then would kind of, maybe bring it up. You're like, oh, what do we think about this? And again, they'd always be like, if you feel like it would help, go for it, do it. And it wasn't until I began taking that action that I realized, like, you take action, you see it works, you see it doesn't, and you're like, especially if it works, that's where I really feel like that confidence piece comes in. You see it, it works. And even if it doesn't, obviously if it works, it's going to be recognized, like, oh man, great thinking, great job. But even if it doesn't get mentioned, like, you see it works and it helps you, like, you know what, I need to do this more often. But you know what, even if you take action and it fails and it doesn't go well, that can still build confidence, because you go and you're saying, you know what, I know that doesn't work, or you know what, I know I need to think of something else differently. And so if that's even with something that at your job, for those that maybe are thinking about doing something different, something unique, something weird. Like I said, many people I know say YouTube or stream of some sort, or, I think of Famous a couple weeks ago. He did music and he said he kind of just had to go on that, like, build on that, take action. And as you begin, I love even how this fits with you in that interview with Famous. Again, I encourage you guys to go check those out, because he even said the biggest regret really he has is having confidence in himself early. He even said, if you guys didn't get a check, again, I would encourage you guys to, but if you didn't get a chance to check it out yet, he says in that interview, like, he wishes he would have been more confident about it in the beginning. Like, he even told me, because I remember going to college and people be like, oh, what are you doing? Like, oh, I do this and that and other things. But the whole music producing would always kind of be a secondhand thought of, like, someone would be like, oh, he also does this, because yeah, I do that too. But you know what? Action can bring that confidence, because you, just by stepping into that, you're like, you know what? You know what it's like to put yourself out there. You know what it's like to take that chance and to say, no, I'm just going to go for it. And, it makes me think of, too, an analogy I've heard of with a ladder. If I'm using a ladder, the first time I use a ladder, I may only be able to get a step up. But then the next time I come up to that ladder, I know, you know what? I know I can go that first step, and I'm going to try next one. And you come back later, I know I can go 2 steps up. This time I'm going to try 3. And it just keeps building and building and building. And that's what action does. When we take chances, when we step out, sometimes put ourselves on the line, put ourselves out there. Obviously, we want it to succeed, and the success is going to happen. It's going to come. But even when failure happens, because that's going to come too, it's still going to be worth it, because you learned that much more for yourself. You learned that much more about yourself. Something we've talked about a little bit, and I really want to get into more and a later episode, is learning from failure. We can learn a lot from failure. We can learn a lot from those things. But you know what? You're not going to fail if you're not taking action. You're not going to succeed if you're not taking action. And as you take that action, that's where the confidence will build. The confidence is going to continue to grow. And that's what's going to help us grow closer into our calling, into our purpose. Whatever we feel like we're called to do, sometimes you just got to take action. I think of people that, I've heard many times, how, other than, practicing and doing mock interviews, sometimes the best way to gain confidence in interviews is to go through many different interviews. And so, sometimes when we know we're called to something, we have a purpose, we know that, this is what I want to do. Um, I want to work in this specific area. I want to do this with my life. If it involves an interview, like sometimes you just got to go for it. Apply, get rejected, apply, have an interview, have it not go well, apply, take action, build that confidence, and figure out who you are. Remind yourself of who you are too. Confidence is going to come from within. Action is just going to build that confidence. Like I said, action drives confidence. Confidence is going to come from within. You got to know and remember who you are and what you're called to do, who you are called to, what your purpose is, what you're passionate about. And as you're confident in those things, as you act out in those, it's just going to build that confidence. It's going to drive it even further, and it's going to help you down the road. So again, that's all I've got. I just want to challenge us and encourage us, even if we're supposed to be. Let me end on this note. Even if you are where you're supposed to be in life, continue to take action. Continue to build that confidence, and just begin to even as you're where you're supposed to be, continue to grow in that. Action and confidence should never stop. As you continue to build and you continue to take action, it'll help you build that confidence and grow confidence for those times that you may not feel like you're in the best spot. Because then you're going to remember, you know what? I remember when I did this and it was the right thing. Or you know what? You may feel like you're in a bad spot, you're not at the right place where you need to be, and then you take action and you're reminded of that confidence. And you're given that confidence back of, you know what, that's right, I am where I'm supposed to be. So this isn't just something for those that are looking for their purpose or their calling, but even those in your calling, in your purpose, where you're supposed to be, take action, build upon that, and just, again, the confidence is going to come from within. The action is just going to help build that and grow that. So I'm going to end there for this week's episode of the Monday Motivation Podcast with Keegan Jewell. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Again, make sure you hit subscribe, whatever platform you're watching on or listening on. And that's another episode of the Monday Motivation Podcast with Keegan Jewell, where we're coming together one Monday at a time to reach our full potential.